9 hours when disaster struck. A fuel leak was discovered in the right wing. The bomber was performing a covert U.S. government airborne alert mission, part of an operation of maintaining up to 12 nuclear-armed bombers airborne and ready 24/7. Because of the leak, plans to refuel the aircraft in midair were canceled. Instead, ground control directed the bomber to fly a holding pattern off the coast of North Carolina.
And you know, it's crazy. This wild, man. Because I happened to see this video online, but I ain't actually watched the video. I just happened to see the title with the live nuke, and I was just going to speak on it, like, you know, short term. I had a dream recently through the spirit about them doing some shit on this coast, too. About something going on over there in Carolina. Now, could it happen? Exactly. Time will tell. But the Most High, he do reveal a certain stuff in certain man's dreams. And it's ironic that they literally talking about a missing nuke over here. And that's what I seen over in the dream. And a nuke wiping out a whole area. Ain't no nothing gonna stand at that go off. Let me finish letting this play.
The plan was to fly until the aircraft had burned enough fuel to make a safe landing. But the leak kept growing and growing. The pilot realized that in 3 minutes the bomber had lost 37,000 pounds of fuel. Red alert. Ground control immediately ordered the bomber to return and land at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Approaching the airfield, the bomber began to descend in preparation to land, but it was too late. At 10,000 feet, the bomber began shaking uncontrollably. The pilot ordered the crew to bail out. They did, abandoning in midair their payload of two 3 to 4 megaton Mark 39 thermonuclear bombs. Somewhere around 8,000 feet in altitude, the bomber caught fire, and there was an explosion. The spiraling aircraft broke up between 1,000 and 2,000 feet over the farming community of Faro, about 12 miles from Goldsboro, North Carolina. The two Mk-39 bombs were sent free-falling to the ground. Each Mk-39 is cylindrical, measuring just under 12 feet in length, and weighing between 9,000 and 10,000 pounds. They're built to lay waste to a wide area.
Hold on, I'm gonna run that back one more time while I got this pulled up. Let me get this scripture real quick. Because the Most High put the spirit on these men and write these scriptures down. I say gonna lay waste and make their habitations desolate. I'm already right. I was trying to search it on another tab, but here we go. Look at Jeremiah still, chapter 50, verse 3. It says, "For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast." Now let me get to the actual version where it says lay waste, because that's what it really says. Alright, let me go to it. Different translations, I don't get to one. That shit came to my mind as soon as I heard that. Okay, here goes one of the translations right here. It says for a nation from the north will attack Babylon. What places over in the north? Russia. And that says it will lay her land waste. People and animals will flee out of it. No one will inhabit it. Now, what would make something become a wasteland? Let me run this back. Ain't nobody gonna go get no archers and shoot no arrows, and the land gonna be waste.
A wide area. Individually, the bombs have an explosive power bigger than 3 million tons of TNT. Sadly, 3 crew members perished in the plane crash. The other 5 crew members were able to parachute and land bigger than 3 million. They're built to lay in length and weighing between 9,000 and 10,000 pounds. They're built to lay waste to a wide area. Individually, the bombs have an explosive power bigger than 3 million tons of TNT. Sadly, 3 crew members perished in the plane crash. The other 5 crew members were able to parachute and land safely. The parachute of one of the bombs deployed, and it slowly floated down. The parachute canopy tangled in a tree, and the bomb landed erect, embedding its nose 18 inches into the ground. It received little impact damage. The other bomb plunged to hit the ground at around 700 miles per hour and broke apart, burying itself deep into the muddy soil of Nahunta Swamp, creating an 8-foot wide, 6-foot deep crater.
And I seen this in a dream. It's wild that I'm looking at this video, seeing this whole little crater, but it ended up going off though. Now who's to say? Now these Edomites, they so fucking wicked. Who's to say they ain't send this shit over there on purpose, just so later on they could come do their next little 9/11?
For all the horror of the accident, it could have been much worse. Though the U.S. downplayed the incident at the time, many years later, declassified papers revealed the truth. Each of the M39 bombs were equipped with 4 interlocking safety mechanisms, all of which had to be triggered to explode the bomb. On the bomb that landed intact, 3 of the safety mechanisms had been activated during the fall. Only a single switch prevented the bomb from detonating.
So they say. Now, the main thing I want to get into, this arrow thing. How you know what the arrows are in the scriptures right here in the book of, let me pause this here real quick. How you know these arrows are, these particular arrows. Because you do have scriptures that says, basically a father teaches his son the bow, how to shoot the bow, which that was talking about an actual bow and arrow. These arrows, on the other hand, verse 14, it says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all you that bend the bow, shoot her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. Now you go into the actual broken arrow military term, which I brought this out previously, but I'm going to bring it out again. He says the military uses the term broken arrow to describe any incident in which a nuclear weapon is lost. So what the hell is this supposed to be talking about now? This bow right here, these arrows, these ain't no little arrows that an archer gonna be shooting out. So if the Most High gonna put a spirit on these other little nations that actually put themselves in array against Babylon round about and bend that bow and shoot them arrows, hey man, you better be wanting to get on the good side of the Most High so you don't feel what happened when them arrows go off. Verse 15 it says, shout against her round about. She has given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord. Take vengeance upon her, as she have done, do unto her. And the history shows what America done went around and did to all these different nations, predominantly our people. But they go around to the other nations, they bomb them into submission. The next thing you know, they got a democracy and a republic. Like China and Japan went from having emperors to presidents. It's just as well as the other little nations. That's just an example. Now I'm gonna play this last little video and I'm gonna put one more scripture. It's an older video.
Hi, I'm Brad Callen, and in this video, I'm going to show you...
You see, a lot of people, they don't like going to them churches because them churches really don't tell people this type of stuff. Because if they did, you'll have more people
says he is
cutting the bullshit out and try to get their households in order. So, when this stuff go down, they have a chance of actually being delivered. If they meant to be anyway. But let me let this play.
isn't trying to ignite a new Cold War. But Putin is touting Russia's new invincible nuclear-powered missile that is capable of hitting anywhere in the world, according to him. Putin showed a video as proof, simulating Russian missiles apparently raining down on Florida near the president's Mar-a-Lago estate. Our next guest is skeptical of Putin's claim about his capability, but has real feelings about his intentions. Joining us now is General Michael Hayden, former director of the CIA and NSA under President George W. Bush. Sir, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nothing subtle about that, General.
No.
Missiles, accurate or inaccurate about the capabilities, right down on Florida? I mean, is that...
Actually, that's one of the stunning aspects of the demonstration yesterday. That they would actually use an absolutely recognizable part of the United States to show where the targeting was. I mean, look, we'll run out our videos to explain capabilities and new capacities, but they're usually generic. They're not going after a particular country for that very reason. You don't want to be seen doing that. Clearly, he wanted us to see that.
And no, clearly, the Most High wanted us to see that. Because there ain't no coincidence. Because these leaders, they really be controlled by the Most High. Wait, let me get that scripture real quick before I go into this. Because they might get up and be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to go have peace talks today. The next thing you know, they flip the script and they do something else totally different. Let's see. The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1, it said, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whatsoever he will. So if he want them to go do something, they're going to go do it. This video right here wasn't no coincidence. They're actually putting this location right there in Florida. And recently, I say at least like, what, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years tops, they actually went down there and did a deal with the new Cuban president so they can have nuclear facilities down there. So, once again, this ain't no coincidence, man.
Now, ordinarily, someone like you says, in the face of this kind of provocation, let me handle it. President should ignore this. However, can you think of any other inimical actor that would do something like this and not get an immediate response from President Trump? Can you imagine if North Korea did this, or China, or anybody that he's gone after in the past except Russia?
So the norm, as you suggest, is we're telling the president, we got this one, big guy.
Right.
We'll go ahead and comment on this. You keep your powder dry. We'll bring you on when we need you. And then you don't have the president mixing it up with every offense that real or imagined that takes place. The president blows right through that kind of advice. And now you've got this kind of an offense, which really feels like Kim Jong-un rhetoric and stagecraft here coming out, and the president's not commenting on it. So what you've got is the delta is not that he does it all the other times, it's that he won't do it for this one.
Why?
And people draw conclusions from that.
No, look, I'm not saying that he should provoke.
I don't know, of course
nobody
not.
wants any kind of escalation. Yeah. We've had enough of that. But how do you explain his reticence to go word for word with this man when he does it with everybody else?
Yeah. So there's no logic that explains it. I don't know what created the dynamic, but we saw it during the campaign, right? And now it may be just at a point, Chris, where it...
And see, that's that bully shit. Yeah, bullies, I remember when I was in high school, it was always like, just thinking of a little comparison. You always had them bullies. They'll go fuck around with the soft people. But a person like me, they wouldn't come around with that bullshit. The same way with these governments. They go see somebody that's small like Korea, Japan, what's another little place? Venezuela, little small areas. Want to go bully them and shit. Tell them, oh, you can't do this or we gonna do this to you. When you got somebody that's big around, they shut the fuck up.
It's a thing for him now that in order for him to say something about Putin now would be implicit admission that he should have been saying other things, and he just won't do it. It's not useful.
That's the best example. That would be the best rationale. If I do it now, I'll be giving in to my critics, so I won't. That is the best possible area. All the other ones are much more troubling.
Well, I'll give you a modestly darker one, all right? He actually admires the way Putin does business. He actually, in his heart of hearts, he may look at what happened yesterday in the Russian Federation and have a certain sense, why can't I give speeches like that? Why can't I do those kinds of things? I think there is a bit of autocrat envy in terms of the president's attitude towards the president of the Russian Federation.
And Putin envy.
Now, the way he is able to govern, the things Putin is able to say, the way things seem responsive to Putin without the institutions of government pushing back on him, yeah, I think he'd like that.
And look, and to your point about the distinction between how he's dealing with this and otherwise, more talk again about potential preemptive military action on North Korea by the United States. Do you think that that is likely, and would you believe that that could be successful in any circumstance?
I don't think it's likely, and I have less confidence that it would be successful. I think the language we had here, Chris, that generated this most recent threat was if they showed the capability of the missile and the weapon, the capability of. You know, you and I have been talking about this now for over a year and trying to parse out the language. Mattis has been very careful. Mattis has talked tough, the Secretary of Defense, but he's talked tough about the threat. If they threaten America, if they threaten America's friends. And it puts our response in a fairly narrow, fairly easy to define lane. Occasionally the presidents talk like this, not about the threat, not about the threatened use, but simply the existence of, the capacity to. And this most recent statement is over here. And that really, to me, is unsettling on a whole lot of levels.
Now, that goes to the finesse of message and the methodology and the sequencing that's involved. Those are terms that you've put into my head in terms of relevant aspects of this kind of planning and strategy. That takes us to H.R. McMaster.
Yeah.
We've heard many times, as of you, he may be on his way out. He's frustrated with the process. Trump doesn't listen to him. Trump goes against his advice. The president said yesterday that's not true. He's doing a great job. How important is McMaster to national security?
Well, the position is traditionally very important to national security. And unless you hire a Brzezinski, a Kissinger, or a Scowcroft, and we've had occasions to have those kinds of folks, what you normally get in the job is someone who controls the process of issues and information reaching the president so that there's a methodology, that there's a sequence, that there's an order. All right, so that's HR's task. Can you imagine that?
Nope.
Discipline, order, sequence for this president. And so my picture, Chris, is we're going to have these sine waves of periodic friction simply because of the nature of the job and the nature of the president. And even if you pulled HR out and put someone else in, if he's going to do the job, you're still going to have these sine waves of friction because they're imposing things on the president who frankly wants to act spontaneously and immediately.
Putin pretends to drop missiles on Florida. Silence. Alec Baldwin, the actor, says something the president doesn't like. He tweets about it first thing in the morning.
Hey, it ain't just Florida y'all worry about, man.